We can't discover our true selves in the digital world. We can't be humbled by beauty. We can't be lulled back into that self-believing childlike wonder so many of us forgot we ever had. So many of us forgot we could never lose. We can't get that back on a social media app. In today's walking tour, join us as we try to restore some of that youthful sense of awe and explore Lubiaz Abbey, a monastery in the temperate hills of Lower Silesia, Poland, dating back to 1163. On this tour, we'll learn some history, we'll give some armchair philosophy, but more importantly, we'll try to give you just a few minutes of distance from that sense of digital overwhelm so many of us feel on a daily basis. Sound reasonable? All right, dobrze. Now, let's start from the outside of the abbey and work our way in. Lubiaz Abbey was founded by the Duke of Wroclaw, Boleslaw I the Tall, in lands restored to his inheritance by Holy Roman Emperor Frederick Barbossa following Boleslaw I's legendary performance during a successful military campaign. Lack of funding and political battles caused progress on the initial building of the abbey to be slow and difficult, and it took a full 12 years for the first incarnation of the project to be completed. This was swampy, heavily forested land, nothing like you see today, and it took time for the monastery to find its footing. In 1200, the first brick Gothic building of the region was built for the abbey, and Duke Boleslaw I the Tall himself was buried here, under the high altar, a year later. Life as a medieval monk was quiet, methodical, and internal. The entire purpose of being at a monastery was leaving behind the chase for riches, societal pressures, even to refrain from the act of speaking itself. To gain serenity, learn the true value of silence, and through all that build a closer relationship with God. Now, the point of this video, or really any video of ours, is not to get religious. However, taking some time on this afternoon to visit a place like this, designed specifically to unplug from what we're told every day is the only way to live. Hyper-connected, super involved with others. It does make me think, are we in the 21st century doing this life thing correctly? I go to a place like this, I learn about how other human beings hundreds of years ago were living. What were they thinking about? And how even back then, they were concerned about the overwhelming nature of modern society. And we're facing some of those same problems today. Haven't we all felt like getting some distance from people, places, and things at times? We'll come back to that and think about it as we walk. Now, by the 14th century, Lubiaz Abbey had grown to become a prosperous cultural center for the whole of Central to Eastern Europe, with excess funds being used to start construction on what would be the foundations for the current structure you see here today. It's important to remember when we're discussing the Silesian regions of Poland, both Lower Silesia or Dolny Śląsk, where we are now, and Silesia or Śląsk, these are lands that have been fought over for thousands of years. Forgive me for using modern terms to describe this, but hopefully it'll make things clearer. The peoples we now call Poles, Germans, Czechs, Austrians, Catholics, Protestants, Jews, they've all lived in this area extensively over hundreds and even more than 1,000 years. This is truly hallowed ground. To put a sensitive endpoint on this, in September 1939, when the Third Reich invaded Poland, the first lands they attacked were in Polish Silesia. Now we're here in Lower Silesia, Dolny Śląsk, in modern terms, specifically a different region, but these are the kind of things I think are important to keep in mind as we walk these grounds. Respect for the past is crucial. Moving on, in the 17th century, These lands were being held in what is historically called Austrian Silesia, and in the fantastically elaborate Baroque architectural style of the Hapsburg monarchy, the abbey was rebuilt in a gilded fashion, which further helps explain some of the way it appears to us today. There's the Summer Refectory, designed in 1690 to 1691 by Michael Wilman, with frescoes of the Greek god of wine, Dionysus. Didn't we say the Habsburgs were ornate? The most well-known and largest city in Lower Silesia or Dolnischlansk, Wroclaw, is infused with the architectural remnants of the Habsburg era as well. There's something about the all-encompassing aesthetics of these buildings that helps you feel small in a good way. It's ironic that from such a small device, like the phone you might be watching this on, you're meant to feel big, meant to feel like gods with the history of the world at your fingertips. And yet there is nothing like the feeling of humility in the face of hundreds of years, even 1,000 years, of other human beings' hard work looking back at you, using architecture and nature as the only way to communicate with us through the ages. And in the case of Lubiaz Abbey, perhaps no better space exemplifies this than the Prince's Hall. Originally constructed in 1734 and 1738, the Prince's Hall is the largest and most important room of the Abbey and has been heralded as far back as the 19th century, once being called the most important ballroom in all of Silesia. What I found fascinating about the artwork and sculptures of the room is the combination of historical epochs depicted side by side. In the ceilings painting, we see glorifications of Poland's first documented ruling dynasty, the Piast, who ruled in the 10th century, near depictions of Hapsburg rulers like the 16th century's Maria Theresa, near pre-Socratic Greek characters such as Kronos. The figures you see depicted in the sculptures are Hapsburg rulers, although additionally Catholic icons are shown around the room as well. I often like to think that the lack of what we in modern society call entertainment helped drive people in the past to create magnificent art that could last for hundreds or even thousands of years. The lack of a need to be entertained leads us to be with our thoughts, with our spirits, and create something breathtaking. As we said in the beginning of this video, this is a place designed for silence. And while of course a room of such awe-inspiring intricacy is certainly not visually silent, it does certainly put you out of yourself in a way that an app simply cannot. Now let's walk you back out on the grounds and let you know I'm going to include a similarly styled walking tour video on screen now, touring one of the world's most beautiful malls located in Poznan, Poland, a few hours to the north. We've just started this channel, and our hope is to continue to refine the immersive experience of these videos. We'll be experimenting a little bit in the future, some videos with music, some without, but let us know in the comments what you'd like to see more of, and if you enjoyed, please be sure to hit the like button and leave us a comment, since it helps us with the algorithm. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next walking tour. Do widzenia.